Hey there, I'm Daniel McFadin, host of Dropping the Hammer with Daniel McFadin, presented by the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Back again to talk about the NASCAR Cup Series. And with me, as always, is Jared Haas. Jared, last week we made our picks for Sunday's NASCAR Cup race at Pocono. I picked Daniel Suarez to win. You picked Denny Hamlin to win. Yeah, one of us was right, one of us was wrong.
We picked the tail ends of the field.
Yeah,
How about that?
Yeah, we yes, good job for us. Yes, Denny Hamlin, winner of the highpoint.com 400 at Pocono Raceway, earned his 7th career win at Pocono, which is now a record for the series, and he earned his 2nd win of the year. But he didn't do it without creating some drama.
So we'd like to see the restart to where we can watch Denny. He, in the middle of the corner, gets position on the 5, then just throttles up, really, and drives up the racetrack, carrying the 5 up the racetrack. We saw this before, but it was Ross Chastain on the outside last year. Again, the 5 hard into the wall. Literally almost the same exact scenario. He comes down the racetrack trying to slow Denny down.
Yeah, you don't mind getting run up the racetrack a little bit, but when you get run up the racetrack this much to where now there's contact and it pushes you out of the groove, you have no choice but to lift out of the throttle, and you're still going to hit the wall. So, yeah, I don't blame him. I'd be mad too.
I think we had an episode earlier this year with the word like déjà vu in it, I think. If not, this one will have it. Because it looked a lot like last year's race at Pocono, where Denny Hamlin got into it with Mr. Ross Chastain in the exact same spot and caused a wreck. But there was no wreck this time, just an angry Kyle Larson, which is not something we've really ever seen that I can remember. When he's usually kind of an unflappable person, but not now. He's upset. What did you think about the Denny Hamlin Kyle Larson situation Sunday?
When Larson gets mad, he's very poignant, I would say. He's very direct.
Pointed or poignant?
Whatever that word means.
Okay.
But, I mean, he's very direct in his words. Very, you think like Kyle Busch, you think of those highlights where he gets mad. He's more of a thrasher type of person too. Harvick with those snide words. Think back to Darlington, for example. But Kyle Larson, very direct, very unhappy with the move. It's kind of similar, like I said, what happened with Ross Chastain. It is a similar situation, but different to what happened at Kansas. Remember, those two were battling at Kansas Speedway for the win, coming off of turn 2. A little bit different result, but Kyle Larson getting the short end of both sticks. Understandably frustrating, but when you got Hamlin trying to perfect what I called the slide and glide... No, there's no more bump and run here. It's the slide and glide, because you have to slide up into the person and glide away when you've disrupted their momentum, because the higher side has momentum. So Hamlin has perfected the art of the slide and glide in the next-gen era.
Stop trying to make that a thing.
Hey, the Hail Malin's a thing.
Yeah.
It starts somewhere, but
start somewhere.
What are you going to call that move then? Because we've seen that move quite a bit being in effect in these NASCAR races. And like even Ross Chastain and Noah Gragson, when they got in that fight, that's the same move that Ross Chastain did.
Door and floor it. Door and floor. You
See, that doesn't have that. That doesn't have that gist. It's slide and glide.
But anyway, no, Denny Hamlin is the winner of Sunday's race. Just in general, okay, so usually, I think I mentioned this last week, there comes a point in a race at Pocono where you tweet, remember when this race was 500 laps? I never had to do that this week.
I hope you didn't, because it's usually 500 miles.
Yeah, what did I say? Did I say laps?
5 laps. We'd be in trouble. We'd be here for a while if it was 500 laps.
So you remember when this race was 500 miles? But I never did that on Sunday because it was a pretty interesting race from beginning to end. There was 11 cautions, which I believe matches the track record since they went to 400 miles. It was.
There was drama throughout the race, and I think there's a lot of storylines we're going to pick into going into the race. But, let's start backwards on basically the two contenders we talked about with Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson.
Yeah, so we got audio from both. We're going to start with Larson because we're going to do these chronologically from when the interviews were given.
Yeah.
So here's Kyle Larson again. He's ticked off. He's upset. These two are friends. Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin, they hang out and do stuff away from the track, and so both their feathers have been ruffled. But here's what Kyle Larson had to say after the race. He admits it's awkward, but he also says if Hamlin invites him to play basketball on Wednesday, he'd go. So here's what Kyle Larson had to say.
Yeah, I mean, he gave me a really good push on the front stretch, and I was nervous of the move that happened because, you know, he made it work on Ross last year, and, you know, he dirtied him up. he knows, and Ross deserved it last year for all those times that he got into Denny. So I felt like I deserved to be raced with respect, at least through, you know, turn one. But, you know, he knew that was going to be his only opportunity to beat me, you know, with how bad Dirty Air was. So I got used up. So just unfortunate. I feel like, you know, we've had a handful of run-ins. I've never had to reach out to apologize. He's always been the one that's reached out to me and been like, hey, man, you're sorry, you know, I messed up there a little bit, or sorry, put you in a bad spot, whatever. Sorry, you know, I hurt your day. I've never had to do that to him. So, sure, maybe there's been times where he's been frustrated with me, but I've never hurt his results. You know, I should have at least been top 2. I finished 21st. So, in my eyes, I mean, hey, I could have 10 more playoff points, 2 more wins right now, if not for the 11. So, yeah, I'm pissed. And I should be.
How similar is this to the Kansas incident in your mind?
This isn't similar. You know, it's I mean, it's different, you know. The Kansas deal was more racing, for sure. I would have loved to got to race him. I'd have loved to got to race him through 3 and 4 there. Today, I didn't even get to race him. You know, he ran into me before I ever hit the wall. And we all know, you know, the aero stuff that goes on, you know, when somebody gets that close to you. I mean, his hood flaps were up. I mean, he was touching me before he ever got to the exit. So I obviously lost the handle of my car, was out of the throttle, and hit the wall and tore up my car and finished 21st. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to let it – obviously it's awkward, or, you know, it will be awkward or whatever, but but still a friend. So, yeah, I'm just mad right now. I'm sure he'll say some dumb stuff on Monday night or whatever, and I'll get more mad for a little while, and then I'll eventually get over it.
All right, thanks for that video from our friends at frontstretch.com. So when you saw Kyle Larson's answer to those questions on pit road, what was your just general takeaway from it?
My general takeaway is, like, Kyle Larson, I mean, he understands that what matters in this situation is getting a win. Mm-hmm. You're a win. You're a golden. You keep winning. You're going to be in the top of the point standings. You're going to get those playoff points. And, I mean, he's, like, frustrated. It's a little bit more angry at Kyle Larson than we saw compared to, like, Dover. But it's a very, you know, he's in the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
What else are you going to be? Are you going to be happy, oh, joy, lucky that you got wrecked out, you know, had to finish 20th, had to lift out of the throttle, lose a chance for the win? No. And Larson's getting frustrated with that.
Yeah. And
Hamlin, you know, very confidently said on his post-race interview on TV on the front stretch, well, you can go boo my rock at Pocono Raceway.
Which, for reference, outside the track, there's like a display of rocks where legends of the sport who have raced at Pocono get like a specific rock. And so that means Denny Hamlin will get a rock at some point.
7 wins there. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is. So I think it should be noted, like, this is like the second time in the last like 3 years that Kyle Larson probably should have won at Pocono. You know, it was 2 years ago, right?
And I think that's where a lot of his, he had that flat tire with Bowman in 2021.
Yeah.
And I think that's the frustrating part for Kyle Larson. You come off of that championship winning season, 10 wins.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not really winning a lot more. What was it last year? Kyle Larson.
He only had 2.
Yeah, he only had a handful of races. And, you know, Kyle Larson did win. He's already won 2 races this year.
Mm-hmm.
But again, he's been in position to win a lot more races. He won 3 last year. Sorry. But again, this is Kyle Larson already proven that he's won 10 wins.
Mm-hmm.
If he feels like he's going to have a win, he's going to win.
Yeah. So now let's move on to the race winner. This was a spicy post-race press conference for a winner, because Denny Hamlin was very defensive about what he did. He claimed he didn't touch Larson, which, I mean, come on, anyone with eyes could tell that there was contact. Hamlin said because he's on the other side of the car, he didn't feel the contact, which maybe I'll allow that. But come on, you touched him. So, but no, here's what Denny Hamlin had to say, and we have to bleep out some stuff. So here's what Hamlin had to say about how he raced Kyle Larson there at the end of Sunday's race.
It sounds like, you defended your move on TV, but Larson obviously not happy and said that of all the times he's never had to apologize to you, you've had to apologize to him. Why wasn't your move dirty, and how do you view it after everything that happened?
Well, that's not true. He's ran me off a bunch of road courses and called me and said sorry, and I said I'm going to stand my ground next time. I'm not here to defend anything. I put both of those guys, the 48 and the 5, in an arrow situation. Didn't touch either one. How can you wreck someone you don't touch? They make a decision to either let off the gas and race side by side, or hit the gas and hit the wall. I mean, I put them to those decisions. I didn't overshoot the corner. I was behind them. I tried to get position on them. I knew it was going to be tight off of 2, but always made sure I left a lane or more than a lane. It's the same, these next-gen cars, for whatever reason, you get in that spot near the car on the outside, it sends them very tight. It just tightens their aero balance. Everyone knows it. Kyle is one of the best aero blockers in our field. I knew once he got the lead and it was green, there was just no way I was going to go around on that. So I just backed off and just waited and tried not to burn up my for a restart later, because he knows how to put you in a situation to just kill your car. So, we waited and we pounced at the right time. He didn't get his right sides clean and drove in the corner just too far and let us get beside him. And then I thought we were going to race it out off of 2, but it was just he got in the fence. Yeah.
So, but do you feel like you raced him with respect?
We're racing for the win. Are you shitting me? For sure. I mean, if I'm going to give anyone in the field respect, it's Kyle Larson. Just because of our, I respect him as a race car driver, and I think he's, probably the best. So certainly he's got my respect. But damn, I mean, we're all racing for a win, and I guarantee you, roles reverse, it goes the same way.
So, like I said, a spicy press conference for a winner. There wasn't a lot of good vibes coming from Hamlin, and he just won his 50th career race. He just earned Toyota its 600 NASCAR win across all 3 National Series, and he spends most of it having to defend his actions with Kyle Larson. So, do you think? I don't think we're going to a short track this weekend with Richmond, which is Hamlin's home track. I don't think. If I had to bet money, I don't think there will be like another chapter of this. I don't see Larson dumping Hamlin on purpose or anything like that. I don't think that's in Larson's.
I mean, we didn't expect that with Ross Chastain to be the chapter with him versus Denny Hamlin. That took almost a year to complete. But I mean, they would think Larson's a little bit. I wouldn't call Ross Chastain less level-headed, but Ross Chastain's going to do what he's going to do to win. And if it's going to peeve off Denny Hamlin during certain points, that has happened. But I don't think Larson, as you mentioned, is going to go out for blood. But Hamlin, he's basically turned in trying to be the NASCAR mayor of the garage. He had Jeff Burton back in the day, and Hamlin having to defend himself, which is quite interesting. Even though, like I said, TV showed the contact, we can give him the benefit of the doubt with that. But, he knows those type of moves that he's going to do because, he's in the Cup Series. He's a great driver. He's going to know those moves, like how I can get him arrow loose so he doesn't get that momentum out of the high side. Hamlin's going to defend that and make sure, I don't think he wants to fully put on that black hat like Kyle Busch did in 2008. But, he's going to do what he's going to do to win.
So, yeah. And I think, Hamilton said in his press conference, he said, like, no one likes to be disliked. Mm-hmm. There's lots of factors that go into people booing Denny Hamlin, more than just what happened in yesterday's race. I remember 3 years ago at Darlington, I believe, didn't Hamlin win both the Cup race and the Xfinity race, and both his cars failed inspection afterwards?
I think something like that. I think the Xfinity car at least did, but
yeah. And then the following week at Richmond, his home track, he got booed loudly by fans during pre-race introductions. So, but no, it's this Hamlin. He's kind of a villain right now. I find it kind of amusing. He's sort of in this situation where, in the same situation that Ross Chastain was in just a couple months ago. So, time is a flat circle, or something like that.
Time's a racetrack.
Time is a racetrack. But Pocono's a triangle.
It still goes back to the start-finish line, Daniel. Time is a racetrack. Very simple.
All right, so do you want to get into the top 10 right now, or do you want to talk about the other storylines?
Let's run through the top 10 first, and then we go more recap some of the interesting things that happened. As mentioned before, Denny Hamlin won the race. Tyler Reddick, who's going to be some topic we're going to talk about, finished second. Martin Truex Jr. finished third. Kevin Harvick was fourth. Ty Gibbs was fifth. Christopher Bell was sixth. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was seventh. Eighth with Harrison Burton. Ninth for Eric Jones. And rounding out the top 10 is Chase Elliott.
And of course, my pick to win the race, Daniel Suarez, finished last.
Yes. The tragedy that's going on. But let's talk about that incident that took out Daniel Suarez. That was happening on, looks like it was lap 37 happened on 37 right after the stage 1 caution. Jumbled up restart with the strategy going on. And there was contact between him and other bubble drivers in the playoffs, Bubba Wallace and Michael McDowell. Daniel Suarez gets the worst of it into the wall, and Joey Logano as well. But even though Suarez is a big topic of conversation that, he's a playoff driver, gets wrecked, Joey Logano, if you had to censor out that post-race, there was communications with the onboard camera that caught the tracker, the work track.
Yeah, for those unaware, during the course of the race after this accident, video got posted on social media of basically Logano's onboard camera that's inside the car and him just being irate and cursing out track workers who are trying to get his car moving. And ultimately, they put his car on the... What they put it on?
On the tow truck. They hauled him, and the big problem with that is he had flat tires.
Yeah.
So he needed, tires to get back around. He was past turn 1, so they had to drag him basically 2 miles on the back of a tow truck, bouncing up and down, and he felt like it was really bumpy. He just needed tires to get back to get pit road, but unfortunately for Logano, the DVP clock, the damaged vehicle policy clock, expired on him. He was pretty frustrated with, how the track workers were trying to get him back on pit road. And
that's what's confusing. Like, he's sitting in turn 1.
Yeah.
Why not just go straight back up the front stretch to the pit road? Why?
Well, I mean, he was in the middle of turn 1, and usually that's frowned upon, having stuff going the wrong way, considering that far down. But I mean, it's a tough situation being a worker. You're trying to do your job. Logano's frustrated because he just got wrecked out. I mean, come on. He's early in the race, frustrated with that. So, understandably that, but I don't get, how are you going to have tires on just a safety truck and have those safety guys just change tires, have a jack up?
Well, I think it's a good idea to have, Logano made that suggestion, is you have a set of spare tires that you could put on the car in that situation. I think that's a valid idea.
Yeah, tires haven't really been much of an issue this year. It was last year, especially in California.
It really was last year, yeah.
It was last year, but this year hasn't really been that much of an issue.
It was last week, it happened to someone. Someone had flat tire. I can't remember who it was. Can't remember.
But it does raise the point of, with this, does this need to be extra tires? Do we need? I don't think there was interliners in that situation with those tires.
No, I believe that. Yeah, that's one of the points.
And that used to be one of those things in the past with those bigger tracks. They would have an interliner in case you have a tire go down and you're not stranded without a tire for over 2 miles.
All right. So one of the other big storylines from Sunday's race was some former teammate on teammate violence.
Big hit.
Oh, helmet thrown at Reddick.
Angry. And I can see his argument, but I can also see Reddick saying, hey man, I felt like you crowded me on entry, but it's such a dangerous entry at high speed.
Did you have that on your bingo card?
No. But no, in the middle of the race, contact between Austin Dillon, who races for Richard Childress Racing, and Tyler Reddick, who races for 2311 Racing, in turn one, sent Austin Dillon hard into the outside wall. And afterwards, Mr. Dillon got out of his number 3 Chevrolet, approached the track, and attempted to throw his helmet at the passing car of Tyler Reddick, and didn't hit it. Bad form. If we were, holding up scores, I'd give him like a 2.
I give him a 2.6. He at least threw the helmet. I'll give him that. It was that direction. Kind of bounced and maybe moving out of the way, but 2.6 for me.
Yeah, wasn't great, but he showed his frustration. He thought Reddick was in the wrong, which led to the contact, but I think most people think it was Austin Dillon coming down. But no, it just clearly shows that it's not all good feelings between RCR and Tyler Reddick after his surprise departure last year. So I believe, Richard Childress on the radio called him I can't say the word. But I
want to make the point of Pocono's really wide in the front straightaway, and then you got to go in the corner. It's just enough for 3 wide, but the arc where Austin Dillon and Tyler Reddick were going was the same real estate. And I understand Austin Dillon's frustration. And again, the season feels like it's mounted against Austin Dillon, because Austin Dillon is not that high in points. He's more or less a win to get in. And the last 4 races, only one top 10 with a 9th at Loudon. It's just been not a really banner season. He's sitting 30th in the points.
Gosh.
That is his worst point standing. His worst one was in 2015, was 21st.
Shoot.
I mean, this is a really...
And when your new teammates won 3 times already, I'm sure that the pressure
There's a lot of against the wall for Austin Dillon because, again, he has the ride because, Richard Childress' grandson, family relations, has over 350 Cup starts.
Yeah.
Only 4 wins, 22 top 10s, 73 top 10s. Not exactly setting the world on fire, but it's just, the pressures come because he's been in the Cup Series for, almost a decade.
Yeah.
In the 3 car.
Yeah. And how many wins? It's 5 wins?
4 wins.
4 wins. Okay.
Never finished top 10 in the standings.
So, but like we said, clearly the pressure is building on there, and there's probably not the most friendly of feelings between Tyler Reddick and the people back at his former home of RCR. So our last, I think it's our last one, our last major storyline from the race was how the race ended.
It's 1 lap to go, presented by Credit One Bank.
Drag race down the front straightaway for second place between Reddick and Truex. The 41 still sitting there, not refired.
Now he gets going. Trying to get going. You see the flames coming out of the exhaust of the 41. He can't get it refired.
They need to throw a caution right here.
The caution does come out. That will put Denny Hamlin in victory lane.
I mean, that was the right call. The car can't be sitting there. Somebody gets turned around, coming out of that tunnel turn. You can hear the fans frustrated.
Win 50 comes at the boos of Pocono fans. The team is happy. Denny is happy. The crowd might not be.
It did not end under green, It ended under caution after contact between Corey LaJoie and Ryan Preece in turn 2 resulted in Preece wrecking, and then also, like, did he have flat tires too?
He couldn't get the car started.
Couldn't get the car started. So he's sitting there stalled, pretty much on the right where the racing surface meets.
Right in the apron of turn 2. You know, it's a tough decision to be in NASCAR.
Yeah,
seats throwing the caution.
Yeah, they threw the caution pretty much as the field was coming up the chute from turn 1 to turn 2.
So I want to make an interesting note during the Xfinity Series race, which had a caution that ended the race, but on the white flag lap, there was a bumper laying on the front straightaway. NASCAR was going to throw the caution going into turn 3 with the bumper on the track for the debris. Not because of the Josh Berry incident, but that affected Josh Berry's race. They're going to throw a caution, wait for that. Kind of the same situation there, so they're at least consistent. But there could have been that opportunity to throw that caution to create a green-white checkered environment. But again, you know, it's a tough situation at the umpiring call. They could have threw it quickly, or they could have waited for Ryan Preece. I think NASCAR at least tried to do the right call, hoping that he would restart and have that race finish on the green. But it's the unfortunate circumstances when you're wrong.
Yeah.
You look bad.
Well, luckily with Pocono, it's a 2.5 mile track. Mm-hmm. It's big, so that gives you more leeway, more time to make that decision. But no, when you have a car that close to the racing surface,
they had to throw a caution. I mean, they had to throw a caution in both of those situations, but when do you throw the caution is the question.
I think if he hasn't moved by the time that they get to turn 1, you have to throw it.
Yeah, they threw it, I think, when they're going into turn 2.
Yeah.
But that's the tough thing about those situations, those umpiring calls, is when to do it, is when they spin out a caution or when they not. You get a caution too. But I was a little bit more concerned with the Xfinity race, how that ended, where that caution would have been. But, you know, again, we're talking about umpiring calls.
Yeah. All right, so enough of the headlines. Let's go back to the top 10 and go through some stats from some notable top 10 finishers. Like Tyler Reddick finishing second. That was his first top 5 since the Coke 600. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize how bad of a stretch he's been on recently. He finished 6th, I believe, at New Hampshire, but before that, he was just having a dog stretch.
I see that. He started 9th at Gateway, wrecked out, finished 35th. Started 2nd at Sonoma, finished 33rd. Started 2nd at Nashville, finished 30th. Started 2nd in Chicago, finished 28th. I mean, he string of bad luck and
awful
wrecking. And I mean, but he still led quite a few laps during that streak. He led, he led over 40 laps between those races when he was starting up front and finishing last. But it's all about that complete skill. I think Reddick at Nashville, he had that pit road miscue. And I think, at Gateway, he got wrecked early on and then was finished out later. He spun early in the race and then wrecked out later. But I think it's just good for him to finally get a race complete to end. He's in the top 5.
Yeah. And then you have Ryan Truex in 3rd. I actually thought he was going to...
Ryan Truex?
What did I say?
You said Ryan Truex.
Martin Truex Jr. in 3rd. God. I thought he was going to have the car to win there at the end if he had gotten to position, but he didn't. But he, in the last 14 races, the 14 races since Talladega, Truex has 10 top 10s and 7 top 5s. He's on a heater.
Those Toyotas are back. I told you the summer Toyota, the Toyotathon is back here. And you see it right here with most of this lineup. 5 of the top 6 cars are Toyotas. Worst one finishing 11th.
No, that's incredible for Toyota. And so behind Truex, you had Kevin Harvick finishing 4th for the 2nd straight week. That's his first back-to-back top 5s of the season. So hopefully for him, things are starting to heat up on his end as he, still looking for that first win in his final year. Who else do we got?
Gibbs got his first career top 5.
Yep, which came a year after his first career start
In Pocono?
at Pocono in relief of the injured Kurt Busch. So I'm sure they're happy for that finally. Harrison Burton got his second top 10 of the season, which now matches his total from last year. So I'm sure they're very glad that they've matched that number at least by this point in the season, though they have not really been running good.
Yeah, it's just been a very quiet season for the Wood brothers, not really making any noise from that, but at least a good run for an 8th place finish for Harrison Burton.
And Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in 7th, he's now locked into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
There's no danger of him getting knocked out because of
too many winners.
So no, he's now secured into the playoffs. He has 7 top 10s. That's 2 away from his career best total from 2017 when he actually had 2 wins. Do you think he's gonna get to 9?
Well, remember my prediction that I had,
Mm-hmm.
even though I said Trackhouse Racing was going to win. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is going to make the round 12, and I think he can get into that top 10 2 more times. I think that's very plausible for Stenhouse.
Okay, and one other note, Eric Jones finishing 9th. That's his 4th top 10 of the year. He's still way off his pace
last 5 races
from last year, though.
Well, I know he's way off in last 5 races: 8th, 16th, 11th, 9th.
That is better. That is
better than what it was beginning of the season. Yeah, and I mean, I think Eric Jones starting to settle in a little bit more with the Legacy Motor Club. But yeah, it's been a tough season for them. I think they're going to be glad to get to Toyota, considering the fact the worst Toyota finished again 11th here.
Yeah, big day for Toyota. All right, enough with Pocono. Now let's move on to news. Our news roundup for this week. All right, news roundup for the week. We're going to get through this as quickly as possible. The biggest news from the last week is that Shane Van Gisbergen, the New Zealand V8 Supercars driver who won the inaugural race on the Chicago Street Course earlier this month, is coming back for more. Jared, Trackhouse Racing announced that he will be back in the number 91 car at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course next month, meaning we'll have 2 V8 supercar drivers in that field. So I'm excited. Are you excited?
The SVG invasion is officially full force. And there's speculation with the rumors that it's almost formal that he's going to be going to NASCAR full-time next season, which is going to be pretty interesting to how track the second iteration of the invasion of outside series goes. We had that in the mid-2000s, but I mean, if you put a performance on that in Chicago, you got to get an encore and repeat that as well. But SVG, again, pretty good. He had locked for top 5. Could be even win 2 for 2.
Kyle Busch said he's the favorite to win. So it would be very interesting to see if he could pull that off.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 for 2, which would just be astounding. So, all right. Last item, TV rating numbers are in for Sunday's race at Pocono, and it got a 1.58 rating and had an average of 2.8 million viewers, which was up from 2.590 last year. And that's with the track having been sold out ticket-wise. The track said it was its best crowd since 2010.
Yeah.
Which that's good. That's all good news.
I think the ratings were almost as close as the Sonoma's Fox's ratings.
I'll have to look that up.
It was like 2.8, 2.9. It was close, but I think it was the highest cable race this season.
Oh, definitely have to look that up. But this is after Pocono went to one race these last 2 years.
I still say double headers. I mean, just imagine you've already got all these campers out there, and you saw there was a post online the comparison between 2019 and 2023 for Pocono, how much they went into camping.
Yeah.
I am still in favor of having a doubleheader, just Cup Series races at Pocono.
Yeah, I like that experiment. I mean, we agreed on that last week. So I thought that.
But I mean, that's perfect parlay right there.
So yeah, most tracks should just have one race. So All right. Anyway, now let's move on to our preview of the NASCAR Cup Series race at Richmond Raceway this weekend. All right, before we get into Richmond, just a reminder that, Jared, you're going to be at Road America this weekend covering the Xfinity Series race, and that'll be on Saturday at 2 p.m. Central on NBC, the Henry 180.
Yes.
How excited are you to get out there?
I'm pretty excited. Just get to deal with the Xfinity Series, which is my favorite series of all the ones to cover. So excited for that, to just go up there to Road America for FrenchStretch.com. We have other reporters at Richmond, so fear not, we're going to have coverage there as well. But I'm excited to get the standalone event and see what's going on and experience Road America.
It's a 4-mile road course out in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin. Beautiful track. I encourage you all to go to that if you can. So yeah, that's the Henry 180, 2 p.m. Central Saturday on NBC, and Jared will be there. But anyway, the main event will be the Cookout 400 at Richmond Raceway. It's our second visit to the short track in Virginia. That race will be at 2 p.m. Central on the USA Network. Kyle Larson won the race in April. He won over Josh Berry, who at the time was subbing for Chase Elliott, who was injured, and Ross Chastain was third. Martin Truex Jr. led 56 laps in that race and finished 11th. William Byron led 117 laps, but he finished 24th after an incident with Christopher Bell in turn 1. So, all right, second trip to Richmond. Like we've been talking about, the Toyotas have been on fire here recently. My pick for this race is going to be Martin Truex Jr.
Ironically, I was going to pick that as well, too. I mean, the Toyotas have been strong. I'll spice it up. I'll actually go with the Hendrick car this time. Give me redemption. Give me Kyle Larson. Give me Phil on this fire. He was good there, obviously, in the spring. This is this type of track. And, Chase Elliott, again, his replacement, Josh Berry, finished second in that race.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was due to tire strategy, but still, hanging up there, second place. Hendrick Motorsports still going to be strong. I know it's the summer of Toyota, but Hendrick, I still think, has this leg up here at Richmond.
Yeah. But part of the reason I'm going with Truex, in the last 7 races at Richmond, he's won there 3 times.
Oh, yeah.
3 times. And he has led 100 or more laps in 7 of the last 14.
That's why I said I was going to pick him if you didn't, So. But, I mean, Truex, this is a track that suits him, It's like I said, these Toyotas, it's a perfect pick.
It was weird. There was like a brief, back before he was winning these races, there was like this brief window of a narrative. It was like, oh, Truex can't win on short tracks. And then he just goes on this tear at Richmond. I think he's
Martinsville. He's won at Martinsville before, too.
And so, yeah, the only thing left for Martin Truex Jr. to win is a super speedway.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all he needs to check off before he walks out the door, and he's got 3.
I wouldn't be surprised if you mentioned this with Martin Truex Jr. kind of parlaying last weekend. If he retires, but just does a one-off for the 500.
Maybe I could maybe see something like that.
That could be something that could be a possibility. Final redemption chance to the Daytona 500. But yeah, Martin Truex Jr. is your pick, and I am going with Kyle Larson.
All right, going for the sweep. So, anyway, that will do it for us this week at Dropping the Hammer. You can find me on Twitter or X at Daniel McFadin. You can email me at dmcfadden@adgnewsroom.com. Jared, where can they find you?
And you can find me at Real Jared Haas, the verified accounts on Threads and Twitter, or as rebranded now, X. Follow me there.
All right, that'll do it for us. We'll be back next week where we'll recap the Richmond action and then preview the NASCAR race weekend at Michigan International Speedway. Thank you guys, and talk to you again next week.